This is Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast, episode number 189. Today we share 5 books that have influenced us the most as leaders. Maybe you'll be surprised, maybe you won't. Stay tuned to find out. Welcome back to Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast. This is the only podcast that shows you how to leverage polarity intelligence, an essential competency for healthcare leaders, and the missing logic in healthcare, so you can create healthy, healing organizations and become a thriving, resilient, and unstoppable healthcare leader.
We are your hosts, Tracy Christofferson and Michelle Trosett. We've been best friends and colleagues for over 30 years. And during that time, we coached healthcare leaders across North America around how to create healthy, healing organizations.
Today, we coach healthcare leaders and leadership teams to live thriving, resilient, and balanced lives, combat burnout, and create the best places to give and receive care.
This podcast is for the unsung hero of healthcare, the healthcare leader. We want you to know we see you and we'll be here for you each week. In this podcast, we're going to challenge healthcare's industry norms, flip limiting beliefs, and share proven strategies so you can be your best self at work and at home, live and lead intentionally, and experience well-being and joy.
We are glad you are here and look forward to sharing the journey with you. If you aren't totally convinced this podcast is for you, just listen to a few episodes and convince yourself. Well, hello, everyone. This is Michelle. Welcome to another episode of Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast.
Yeah, welcome. This is Tracy. We're so glad to be back with you. Super excited today.
Super excited. We were just talking about how all of our podcasts are fun.
Every single one of them.
Every single one.
Really, we love doing this. I don't know why some people are fearful of talking in public. We certainly aren't.
We aren't.
We have a lot of rip.
And we got lots to talk about.
Yeah, today we do.
Oh, yes.
We could have a lot more to talk about, but we've really trimmed this one down, folks. It's probably going to be a long one, but worth it.
Mm-hmm. What are we talking about today, Tracy?
Books. Only five books that have really influenced us the most. The ones that we have embraced, embodied in everything we do. And there are stacks of books. You just have to know.
Yes.
Stacks of books that have been valued highly, that we look at frequently. But these are the ones that we couldn't do 200. So
we had to pick 5.
We had to pick 5, and but it was not a difficult 5.
No, it wasn't.
There were some runner-ups.
Yep.
But these were the most critical ones.
Yep.
I think, right?
Yep. Some are older, some are new.
Yeah,
but they're all tied and true.
We love to read.
We do.
We love to read, especially books that help us grow and evolve as people and leaders. And, it's really one of the ways that we care for ourselves is we nurture our brains. We feed our mind to receive inspiration, right? Like it's just, I'd love to do more reading, but
don't you wish we had? Yeah.
Well, we could make more time. We could prioritize it.
Yes, we could.
But we do a lot of reading already. But, I like to read.
Oh, yeah.
And we like it. And, we thought today we'd just share that part of ourselves with you so you can kind of get a sense of the things that influence us and have shaped us and our thinking and our coaching and all of that. All the above.
All the above. You know, and we really believe, and we want to share with you in the podcast today, that we're all here on this planet to grow and evolve.
Yeah, that's up.
And books are so powerful. It's a powerful tool to do that. And continuous learning supports, all of our purposes. Like if you're continuously learning, that's really important. Yeah. And we lean into our strengths a lot. And we're actually going to talk about that a little bit today too. And, so as an achiever, you have to continuously learn. You can't just stop learning to be an achiever. And that's one of my strengths, as well as a maximizer. Mm-hmm. Always improving, always making things better.
Yeah. And I'm a learner.
Yes,
So,
she is a learner.
Yeah, that's it. I'm a learner. So it kind of goes hand in hand with this growing and evolving thing, right? And then as a maximizer as well. So, meaning like always looking how to make something better, take it to the next level, grow and evolve it, right? And you can't do that if you're not growing and evolving your own mind.
Yeah.
And
So
your perspectives and exposing yourself to other ways of being and thinking. And
So we're invested. And we have invested a great deal into exposing ourselves to new ways of and new tools to learn and to grow. And, sharing books is such a magical way. Like, did you read that? What did you get from that? You can share about that. So we're going to share today some of the books that have influenced us the most and why.
Yeah. And if you're like, some of the tormented healthcare leaders that we've been working with and speaking with, and you're probably a high achiever as well and dedicated leader, but feeling conflicted, maybe feeling fearful, guilty, uncertain, and exhausted in these times, right?
Might fall asleep reading those books.
Yeah. You could.
I do at night sometimes. 2 pages out. Yeah, and if you you're doing some of these things too, we know that you're in that tormented leader stage of following the leadership norms and sacrificing your personal life for your professional life. And focusing your attention on what's happening or not happening around you, so you're really living in your circumstances, or you're trying, the strategies that you're familiar with to address your challenges. So you're not looking at new ways to address those challenges.
Yeah. And so sometimes it's the things we're doing that are causing us the most pain. It's not even what's happening around us. It's the choices we're making and the things that we're doing, right? And so like Einstein said, right, you can't solve a problem using the same level of thinking that created it. So you can't keep doing the same things and expecting to get a different result. And one way to find new ways of thinking and new approaches is stepping back from your circumstances and find yourself, take some time, move your attention to something that can help you get what you want, something that can give you a sense of hope. Expose yourself to new ways of thinking, new ways of being through books and podcasts and videos, right? Those are some ways that you can shift from where you are to a new way of being, right? And embrace new things.
There's so many ways to read books today too.
Oh yeah.
Like we weren't kidding. We've got hundreds and hundreds of books. Bookshelves, storage, books in storage. But now I think with, Kindle and with audiobooks, there's even more possibilities.
Oh, yeah. You're listening to books while you walk. And we'll talk more about how to do all that stuff, right?
Yeah. So here's our top 5 books. Drum roll. And we're going to just have a fun banter back and forth and what we each got from those books and what they mean to us. And our first book is The Power of TED, The Empowerment Dynamic by David Emerald. And this book has been so impactful for both Tracy and I personally and professionally. And I actually learned about the book the first time from Tracy. You were the first person that, shared this book with me.
Oh, boy. Yeah. My coach at the time shared it with me, and she actually shared it with me like 2 or 3 times before she actually mailed me a copy. So that was my first clue that, I think I better be reading this book, right? And so it was like, okay. But it was life-changing for me. Now, it's written like a fable, and David is a wonderful author. He's a wonderful man. He actually went to a workshop on the whole thing and really dove even deeper into it. But the empowerment dynamic, really, it's about this comparison between the dreaded drama triangle, where you kind of have these roles of victim, persecutor, and rescuer. And as I was reading the book, I was like, oh, crap, that's me. Oh, I'm doing that too. Oh, here's how that's showing up in my life. So I could actually see myself in this dreaded drama triangle and really got some fresh insights into what I was experiencing, why I was experiencing, what meaning I was giving to it. And it was really kind of that first time I had been exposed to that triangle. And it just was like a slap in the face around what my life was like and why I was experiencing those things. And then, the other aspect of it is the empowerment piece. So you don't have to stay in that triangle, you can actually move into a more empowering dynamic, which is about coaching and challenging and being a creator in your life. And so for me, it was just a pivotal life lesson, a new lens with which to look at my life personally and my professional life. I was showing up in the dreaded drama triangle, was in both aspects of my life, right? And I was making those choices. So it was great for me.
Yeah, it's such a transformational book because you will see yourself in it and you will see others in your life in it. And I think the power of it is just the self-awareness. And you stay stuck if you don't recognize these roles that play out, and then where you are in those triangles, And so for me too, it's been so impactful on a personal level and a professional level, and then it gives you the antidote. That's what I love about the flip from the dreaded drama triangle to the TED, because it gives you the steps to actually be in a healthier dynamic with it. And we were so impacted by this book that we asked the author, David Emerald, to be on our podcast. And so we have an episode number 136. So if you want to learn more about the power of TED, tune into that episode.
Yeah. And I think the other thing about this, and I think in David's message too, this isn't about shaming yourself. This isn't not about labeling yourself as a victim. It's just recognizing these roles exist. They all feed each other, and that this is a journey. Like, I still find myself being the victim. Sometimes I have to go, oh, Tracy, come on, right? Like, like you have to be vigilant and aware. Like Michelle said, it's really about that awareness. So when you're slipping into that role or playing a persecutor role, or, and when you can like really leverage the challenger role and the coach role, and how to create an empowering environment by really being those, living those characteristics and really stepping into those roles. So, it's just a journey, and it just takes patience with yourself and grace. Give yourself grace, because we all have these things, right? We all have them. So
we do.
Yeah. So definitely a must read, let me tell you. Now, another one, right, is the Free to Focus. And this is the total productivity system to achieve more by doing less, by our coach and friend, Michael Hyatt.
Yes. Great book.
Yeah. This has been another game changer for us. It really, for me, helped me to look at productivity in a whole new way. It's not so much about the doing the more, and keep doing more and doing more and doing more, right? It's really about what's getting done and getting the right things done.
Yeah, being effective.
Yeah.
Really
just
being effective.
Making those choices, right? And it's not so much about time management as it is about energy management and the success of efficiency. So creating efficiencies for you personally, and then within your company, with those that you lead and you work with.
Yeah. And for me, when it comes to the productivity relationship polarity, I tend towards the relationship pole. I mean, I love that pole. I could sit in that pole all day.
Yes, ma'am.
So I need help on the productivity side. And I think what this book did for me is it helped me look at it in a whole new way. It helped me to shift my energy into things that I can be productive in, that were energy giving for me. And even, it just helped to prioritize too, because it's not just a long to-do list. It reframes how you look at productivity.
Yeah, and I think prioritization is critical when it comes, it's critical when it comes to productivity, that you're prioritizing. So you're getting the most important things done first, right? And that you do that in a stepwise fashion.
Yes.
And that you are more productive when you're working, to Michelle's point, in your desire zone. So when productivity isn't your jam, right? What is your jam, and where can you spend your time so that you're in that, what Michael describes as a desire zone? When you're doing something you love and it energizes you, you're going to be more productive naturally. So it's also about delegating and automating the other maybe responsibilities that you have so that you can be more productive, but you don't have to spend a lot of time in any drudgery zones, right? And I think that was make sure you got the right people doing the right things
Yep.
where they can shine and be energized and not spending their time in the drudgery zone. We've designed our whole business that way.
Whole business.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we keep asking, are we doing the right things? Are we in the right seats on the bus, right? Are we doing the things that are our desire zone?
Yeah. So even our podcasts, our batching is done in this way so that we can batch them and then we're free to do other things, right? We prioritize our annual goal setting, our monthly, weekly, daily, with the big 3. So we're laser focused on the things we need to be most productive on. And I have to say, this is something that you have to just trust and give it time. Because like when I think back when we first started batching, it was like a kind of a foreign concept, but now that we've been doing it, our whole team can't imagine not doing it, right?
Yeah, it's just how we operate now. And it makes everything so much more effective. And once it's done, and we don't have to give attention to it until the next rotation, right? But the other thing that I think is really important about this as well, when it comes to productivity, is what to cut.
Yes.
What to say no to. And that takes practice, right? That just takes vigilance, awareness, and knowing that when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So you always want to be aware of where you're putting your attention and what is in alignment with your priorities and what to cut and what to delegate. So all those things these are all things that we've learned and have been practicing, and it's a practice.
It is a practice.
It's a practice. You have to stay at it, and you have ups and downs with it, but you have to stay at it. And we're just so grateful. I spent 2 years being coached by Michael and really understanding these and how they can strengthen your business and you as a leader. It's just been phenomenal. So this is a big influence on us.
Yeah. Highly recommend it.
Highly recommend it.
All right. So our third book that influenced the most is by Barry Johnson.
Yes.
Polarity Management by Barry Johnson. So, wow. Meeting Barry Johnson just changed our lives. And it was his book that he first wrote, Polarity Management, that really introduced us to polarity thinking. And it's been our Bible for many, many years. It's referenced by many people. And then through his book, we've learned it's really the basics. He lays it out so beautifully, how he describes it. It's understandable. You can quickly grasp the difference between a problem and a polarity. And then through that, in that book and through our work and our mentorship by Barry, we've really learned the components of the polarity map, how it works, how to engage others in exploring polarities. A lot of magic in that book. And there's also a lot of great examples in that book too that show up in our everyday life that you can apply to any business, any work, any work that you do. And it really solidifies the concept. Now, since then, we've done a lot of work with Barry, have had the privilege to work with him and his team. And then recently, he has 2 more books that have come out. His first book was Making a Difference by Leveraging Polarity, Paradox, or Dilemma, Volume 1, Foundations. That was published in 2020 by HRD Press. And then that was followed up with Making a Difference by Leveraging Polarity, Paradox, Dilemma, Volume 2 on Applications. And that was also published in 2020. And Tracy and I have a couple of chapters in that book.
Yeah, we do. These are very powerful books. And, like Michelle said, the first book was our Bible for so many years and lots of great stories in there. And these are, this is everything that's been learned since the first book came out in 1997. So lots of learning, lots of application, lots of different people bringing their wisdom and their experiences to it. And we highly recommend all 3 of them. I mean, Barry's original book is still very, very valuable, especially for a beginner. And it's just been life altering. And of course, we have a whole business that's based on polarity. So you can imagine the influence this one's had on us.
Thanks, Barry.
Thanks, Barry. Yeah, it's awesome. Lead with strengths. That's been our mantra for a long, long time. And, of course, this is the most recent book that has influenced us, but there were many that came before it. And the first one, when we were first exposed to the power of strengths, was Now Discover Your Strengths, which was published in 2000. And that was really our first exposure. And it's based on 30 years of research, right? So this is evidence-based. And it was really an eye-opener to operate from a place of strength, natural gifts and talents and the impact that has, and really to stop, kind of beating yourself up for what you weren't doing well, right? But to really lean into what is natural for you, and to understand that about yourself, and understand it, about others as well, that we all have strengths and that we are more effective when we're operating from those.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think that was the basis of the whole thing.
Just makes sense of things.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
When you understand,
totally makes sense.
Somebody's strengths and you understand your own, then you can leverage them much more easier. Yeah. And again, I think too, it's just, it's permission to stop expecting yourself to be fabulous and have greatness in every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
Ain't going to happen,
No,
right? It kind of is that permission to stop trying to be perfect, and just to recognize there are just things you do really well and there are things that just you don't. And that's okay because we're all unique. And I think it was really a book giving people a lot of permission. Mm-hmm. That's how I felt about it.
Be who you are. Be what your strengths are.
Yeah.
Lean into them.
Exactly. And of course, the assessment, just was really, really helpful, right? To kind of help you to see what those were. And then the descriptions of the strengths to help you think about that strength in different ways. And I think many of the people we've talked with, which have done the assessments, are like, yeah, that makes total sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that in me. And then there's some surprises of, well, I thought I'd have a strength in this area. And I really don't. That's not one of my top 5 strengths, right? So there's some ahas in the process. And then there's just some validation, I think, around what might be a strength. And then the next book was the Strength Finders 2.0. And here's something I didn't know, that this is Amazon's top selling nonfiction book of all time.
That's huge.
It is. I know. I think that's really amazing. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last one, and one that we have found to be really, really valuable then, is the Strength-Based Leadership by Gallup, which came out in 2008. So this has been out for quite a while.
Right.
Quite a while, but we've been leveraging it.
Yep. And when we work with leaders, we encourage them, if it's been, more than 5 years since they've taken their previous ones, because it's been out for a while, take it again. And Tracy and I have both taken it multiple times. And there's some core ones that might stay the same, but based on your evolvement, your strengths can change for your top 5.
Yeah. Well, and as you think about that, we talk a lot about identities and stepping into your future self. And if you're stepping into your future self, then you're exercising different capacities and different characteristics. And as you evolve and grow, then it would make sense that your strengths may shift.
Right.
Maybe they've always been there, but they might come up further, right? Up to your top 5 instead of being 6 or 7, right? Just depends on what you're doing. But again, this is about decades of data and research, right? And that they conducted all these interviews, over 20,000 interviews. Can you imagine interviewing over 20,000 people?
No.
Wow. And these were in-depth interviews. And they asked them why they followed the most important leader in their life. What a great question, right? And it identifies these keys, the 3 keys to being a more effective leader. So it's not just, okay, here's another assessment on your leadership strengths, but it's about the keys to being an effective leader, knowing your strengths, investing in others' strengths and how you can do that. And then the categorization, right? The domains of different leadership characteristics to help you see where you sit in those domains.
Yeah.
And I think that's very revealing.
That's very revealing. Totally agree.
Yeah. Very, very revealing. And we do this with the leaders that we work with because knowing your strengths, it makes everything easier when you're operating from your strengths, and then understanding other strengths and where you fall within those domains, whether, you have strengths in executing, whether you have strengths in influencing or relationship building or strategic thinking. and to know where the gaps are in your team for yourself so that you can surround yourself people that have those strengths to have a, like a well-rounded out team or approach. And the whole business, our organizational chart is based on strengths.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's had a big impact on us as well.
We live it. We honor it and live it. Right?
Yep.
So that's really important.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this our fifth book?
Fifth one. Here we go. Last but not least.
Well, this is an oldie but goodie.
Yeah, this is an oldie.
This one is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And learned a lot about character in this book, leadership qualities. It's really timeless. In fact, it was in getting ready for this podcast, we both kind of dusted it off a little bit, looked at it, and went, "Oh my, these are really good."
Yeah, and some we've been living right along, and others we were kind of like, "Oh,
we should probably relook at that principle."
Yeah, I think that's showing up, right? That habit. And we've been focused on habits a lot lately. So.
Yeah, and he goes along with our whole internal work before external work. I've always been a big believer of the private victory before public victory. And that's a lot of what we work with leaders on, right? Going inside before you can go outside. And so his work has always been about that. Yep. And I really, really think I've always valued that a great deal. And so the 7 habits, one is beginning with the end in mind. And recognizing that all things are created twice, first in the mind and then in the physical, right? So always keeping the outcome we desire in mind as we take each steps, that outcome orientation, just keep moving forward. And we do that with our goals. We have set breakthrough year goals for our business, our annual goals, our quarterly rocks, our daily big 3, but we always have that end in mind. We're always keeping it in front of us. It keeps just propelling us forward.
Well, and that's that outcome orientation, right?
Yes.
Versus circumstance and getting caught up in what's not happening, right? It's really about what you want to have happen. I think that aligns really well with what we've been trying to do as well and teach others. Right. Yep.
And then it shows up in our third pillar of the dynamic balance effect of the personal alignment, recognizing that vision, goals, and purpose, they all really matter, as well as our mindful choices pillar about what matters most. So it shows up in our framework as well, and in our pillar number 2, polarity intelligence, which is the blueprint for dynamic balance in our coaching program. So a lot of connections there.
Yeah, you got to make sure you got your ladder against the right wall.
That's right.
Yep. And then there's first things first.
Yes.
So again, time management matrix, right? The urgent and the important. And we've been having lots of conversations about that lately, folks. It's
true.
really easy to get, sucked into the urgent and not giving your attention to what's most important. And again, I think organizations are facing this right now too. As leaders, you're facing this, right? There's so many things that are pressing and urgent. You got to be taken care of right now, today, right? That we lose sight of the important things that we need to be giving our attention to. So we can have the innovation, we can grow, and we can move closer to the things that we want. So it's that fine balance for both, right? And, if you're in that quadrant 1, the urgent, right, that's crisis everywhere, right? Fires everywhere. And it's just like rush. And all that it does is lead to burnout, stress, right? And so this balance, understanding the urgent and the important, both are important. You need to have both, and you got both in your lives, right? Both professionally and personally. And it's that fine balance, right? But it takes vigilance to keep yourself giving that attention to the important.
Yeah, it really does. Vigilance is absolutely.
First things first, and you got to say no.
Yes.
That no thing keeps coming up. You notice that?
Yeah, I noticed that. And then another habit is to think win-win, right? So this is so aligned with both and thinking. It's Just a great way to look at things. And this comes to partnership agreements, both at the personal level and professional level, and really set up needs, expectations, and making sure that you have everything in place so that everyone can be successful. And I've always liked that win-win. And one of the things I really appreciate about Stephen Covey's work in this too is it helps you to know when to walk away. It just kind of makes that definitive, like, you know what, this is not a win-win. And not only is it okay to walk away, it's important to walk away.
Yeah. Well, when you have that clarity, you feel comfortable with it. You know it's the right thing to do.
Yes. Yeah.
You know it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then another one is seek first to understand and then be understood, right? And that's another polarity intelligence piece that has to do, with relationships and with dialogue, right? Seeking to understand and that intention, right? That's so much about the intention of being with people and meeting them where they're at, and just core dialogue principle, which is a part of the polarity intelligence tripod.
It is.
All right.
And then synergize. So this is collaboration, integration, the power of partnering relationships. We were so blessed. We have some awesome strategic affiliate partners that bring our boot camp to their members. Yep. And there is a clear recognition from both parties that this is synergy. This is all of us coming together to meet a common need of leaders. And so it's a great example, I think, of how we synergize with professional organizations. And also we do it within our boot camp and our coaching programs itself, by sharing experiences. And we just have affirmed over and over again how powerful it is to bring leaders together to share their experience, and recognizing that, what is most personal is most general, and people really long for that connection and that collaboration.
Yeah, well, what you think is unique to you really isn't so unique. Everybody's experiencing it. It might look a little different for this person than it looks for you. But under the surface, we all face the same things, right? We're all dealing with very common and similar challenges. We just think it's unique to us. So when you come together, you can see that, right? And you're not alone. And that's the big thing. You feel alone when you're isolated. But when you connect, then you realize, wow, hey, I'm not so bad. Other people have this too, right? And the last but not least, Michelle, sharpen the saw.
Sharpen the saw.
Which is what we're all about here, right? At Missing Logic, and really helping leaders to have self-renewal and balance in their lives, and proactive planning and strategies to have that. This is a big part of our polarity intelligence, really finding that, creating dynamic balance in your lives. And, and it really is important to have that physical, psychosocial, spiritual balance, to be the most effective person, to have the life you want. You're here to enjoy your life, right? And so this is a big part of that. And to grow and evolve, you have to feed yourself in all those different ways. And in our coaching programs, we work on that balance between professional and personal life, but we also help people go a little bit deeper in caring for themselves and caring for others. And as healthcare leaders, your tendency is to care for others. And so you really need to leverage the sharpening of your saw and care for yourself, because that's where you end up burned out. There's a lot of negative consequences when you think you're doing the right thing, but there's negative consequences when you overfocus there. Same thing with activity and rest and productivity in relationships, right? Leveraging the relationships and yet maintaining that productivity that you need in your role. And last but not least is another polarity that really is about sharpening the saw, which is the doing and being. And as high achievers and sometimes overachievers. We spend a lot of time on the doing pole, but the being pole, right? That being with yourself, that reflection, the quiet, the solitude, the just being piece is what will help you feed your soul, right? Feed yourself and help you to be the best that you can be. So it's that balance.
Helps with your renewal.
Yeah.
You can't renew if you're always doing.
Yes. And so that's the 5.
Bonus.
But here's a bonus. This is what's on our bookshelves right now. Well, it's on Michelle's table and it's in my
Her
Kindle or my iPad, But this is what we're reading now, which is Be Your Future Self Now by Dr. Benjamin Hardy.
Mm-hmm. Great book.
Oh, yeah. Love his books. And just really, this is something that has been our mantra that I learned a few years ago about you have to be first, right? It's all about that identity, stepping into your future self to create the future that you want. Because if you're not being that person, you're not taking the actions that are actually going to get you what you want. You'll stay in your comfort zone. You'll stay within the invisible fence that's holding you back. So you just really have to be bold and be out there. And this book is all about how to do that. And I think that's really cool.
And I just love the title, Be Your Future Self Now. Just be it now.
Yeah, that's right. You just got to step
that
into
identity.
it.
Yep, be it.
Yep. And, I think, oftentimes we think that, we operate from the have, do, be, right? Mm-hmm. So when I have more time, then I'll exercise and then I'll be more energetic, right? But no, you need to flip that, right? And to, as an example, be energetic so that you'll do the exercise and then you'll have more productive time, right? Mm-hmm. You'll be able to accomplish more. It's not the opposite way. And so I think that when I learned that, it was like, oh, okay. Well, and the other thing is when I'm not achieving what I want to achieve, it's because I'm not being the person that'll do it, right?
Right.
I'm not being the person that'll do the exercise, right? So I'm not getting that healthy body that I want, right? So, and we've just learned to embody and embrace this, and I think that that's just been like it's really helped us in a lot of different ways in our lives,
and we're continually to sharpen the saw on it.
Yeah, and it's the
refine it.
first rung on we have a roadmap, a mindset roadmap for the healthcare leaders that we work with in our True program. And this is the first rung in that roadmap is identity. Mm-hmm. What are the characteristics you need to embrace and be to be a thriving, resilient, unstoppable leader, and really helping them to step into that. And it's just so much fun when they do it.
Oh, awesome.
Just recently we were with a leader, just on Monday, we were with a leader and she's like, I had this big major presentation I had to do. And I went in there just being confident and clear and articulate. And I would have never done that or shown up in that way if I wouldn't have been doing this work. Right. So it's just, I love it when it happens like that.
Yeah,
right?
It's so exciting.
And you just keep practicing it, right? And practicing it. So
Yes. So this book is really timely because it just reinforces the work that we've been doing with leaders and what we know is really essential. It's just really essential.
Yeah. Yeah. And it gives you the key steps, how to do it. Yeah. The other thing is it's kind of also about identifying your conceptual purpose. So the book helps you to think about the three major priorities, the massive targets that you want to hit and those, kind of like breakthrough years. Like, what is it that you really want? What's the contextual purpose of stepping into? Like for us, we do a breakthrough year at the beginning of the year, right? The major stretch goals, right? In order to achieve those, we have to be different. We have to decide who is it we need to be to live that at the end of the year, right? And so things like that. And then elevating your needing to wanting to knowing. And we have processes where we set our intention every day. These are my intentions for the day. This is what I know. How I know I'm going to live that intention. And this is the result that's going to occur from that. And it's like kind of a scripting, journaling thing that we do. And it's our way of being our future selves now and the results we're going to get each day as we do that. And it's been really fun. We've passed that on to some other people and they love it.
Yes, along with our 100 wishes that we do every year. So it's really stepping into that and then being the person that makes all of that magic happen. So it's great.
Yeah, it is. It is. So I think too, all of these books are kind of building on each other, right? There's some commonality, and then there's some very unique things that each book has brought to us that we've been able to leverage. And so we thought we'd share those with you today. And you
pass along.
Yeah. Right. And you may or may not realize, right, if you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you got. So these are just ways to get some new ideas, some new thinking.
Yeah. And we know that new ideas can just open up the whole new world for people and new perspectives and get rid of the limitations that might be holding you back. So there's just so much power in books. We just think everyone should read.
Yeah.
And then thinking about the characteristics of the person who has what you want and desire, and stepping into the characteristics, those characteristics that will help change the results that you're getting. So they're good role models. The books are really great role models.
Yeah, they are. And so, you can listen to books now.
Yeah, I listen to them all the time.
So many people say, yeah, I listen to a book on my way home from work, or I listen to a book when I walk, or, there's just lots of ways to expose yourself. You don't have to sit down with a physical book. Some, one of our dear friends, they set a goal to listen to, 22 minutes a day in the year 2022. I'm going to read for 22 minutes every day throughout the year, right? And so they just dedicated 22 minutes each day to reading a new book or finishing a book and creating that habit, So too, it's also setting aside the time, a space, a day where you can just read, right? Even if it's just 10 minutes in the morning or Saturday mornings, I'm going to spend some time nurturing myself with a good book. And then, again, just be that future self now. Be that reader right now.
Be the reader. Well, that's our top 5 and our 6th bonus. We hope you enjoyed today's podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Send us an email at michelle@missinglogic.com and tell us your favorite book. And maybe we'll do this again because books are so helpful in all of us on our journeys as leaders. And also, we ask that you leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Let us know what you think about the podcast. Give us a rating and review. And we will see you next time. In the meantime, stay safe and stay healthy.
Yeah. Bye, everybody. See you next time.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast, now a top-rated podcast for healthcare leaders. Please share this podcast with other healthcare leaders and anyone else you think would benefit. We are certain that if you found value in it, they will too. If you haven't already done so, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any episodes. And also, it would mean the world to us if you took a quick moment to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast player. It helps to get the word out about our podcast and incredible guests. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to watch our podcasts. You can also follow us on our Missing Logic social media channels, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Until next time.